CBS Young and the Restless spoilers. Victoria Newman has always seen herself as a protector, a mother figure, and a woman who values the bonds of family above all else. Her deep love for Claire was unquestionable. She believed that Claire was her daughter, the one she had raised and nurtured as her own, despite the complexities of their relationship. Victoria had spent years watching over Claire, guiding her, and helping her navigate the world. But all of that was about to come crashing down in a single moment of painful discovery. The discovery, DNA results that shattered everything. It all began innocently enough, with Victoria simply doing what any concerned mother would do, cleaning Claire's room. She had always been a bit protective, always wanting to make sure that everything was in order, and that nothing was hidden from view. But as she tidied up, her hands landed on something that would change everything: a DNA test result. At first, she thought it was just another document, another piece of paper left carelessly on the desk. But as her eyes scanned the words, her heart began to race, and the reality of the situation began to set in. The result was clear, and it was devastating. The test confirmed what Victoria had feared deep down, though she could hardly bear to admit it. Claire was not her daughter. The child she had loved and cared for all these years was not truly hers by blood. The earlier DNA tests, the ones Victoria had trusted, were fake. They had been fabricated, manipulated by the very technology that had become such a prominent part of their lives: AI. The truth was a cruel blow, a discovery that shattered Victoria's perception of her own family. Victoria was overcome with a deep sense of betrayal and loss. She had loved Claire as her own, had raised her with the intention of giving her a future, a legacy. But now, that love seemed like nothing more than an illusion. Her daughter, child she had poured her heart into, didn't exist in the way she had always believed. The image of the family she had built was nothing but a lie. The confrontation, Victoria versus Claire. Victoria, unable to contain her emotions, burst into tears. Her sobs filled the room as she clutched the DNA test results in her trembling hands. The world around her seemed to blur, and she felt a deep sense of grief, not just for the loss of Claire as her daughter, but for the years that had been wasted on a relationship built on lies. It wasn't just a betrayal of trust, it was a betrayal of everything she had believed in. Just as Victoria was processing the rawness of the moment, the door to the room creaked open. Claire walked in, her face lighting up at the sight of her adoptive mother. But as she took in the scent of tears, the anguish, the test results in Victoria's hand, her expression faltered. She froze in place, eyes wide with a mix of fear and guilt. Victoria, her voice shaking with disbelief and rage, screamed, "What the hell is this, Claire? Why would you do this to me? Why would you lie to me like this?" Claire's face drained of color. For the first time in a long time, the facade she had carefully constructed began to crack. She had been living a lie, and now, it was all coming to light. She opened her mouth, but no words came out at first. The weight of the truth was suffocating. Finally, Claire broke down. She dropped to her knees, hands clasped together in a gesture of surrender. Tears streamed down her face as she choked out the words, "I'm so sorry, Victoria. Please forgive me." Victoria, standing there in stunned silence, could hardly bring herself to speak. The pain of the moment was too raw, too overwhelming. Claire continued to cry, her voice trembling as she confessed everything: lies, the manipulation, the use of AI to create the illusion of family, the betrayal of Victoria's trust. "I never meant to hurt you," Claire sobbed, her words barely audible between her cries. "I didn't want to lose you. I needed to be part of your family. I needed to feel loved, and this was the only way I could do it." Victoria stared down at her, her mind racing. How could this have happened? How could she have been so blind? She had seen the signs of Claire's manipulation in the past, but she had ignored them, believing that the love they shared was real. The truth was a bitter pill to swallow. The conversation, what was said between them. The room was filled with echoes of Claire's sobs as Victoria stood in silence, still holding the DNA results tightly in her hands. Finally, Victoria spoke, her voice heavy with the weight of her heartbreak. "You never trusted me, did you?" she asked, her tone low but filled with sorrow. "You never trusted that I would love you the way I love my own children." Claire looked up at her, eyes filled with regret. "I didn't know how else to be loved, Victoria. I've always felt like an outsider, like I didn't belong." I thought if I could be part of your family, if I could be your daughter, everything would be different. But I was wrong. I see that now." Victoria's expression softened, but the hurt was still evident. "All these years, I've been protecting you, caring for you. I've given you everything I could. And this is what you've done to me. How could you not trust me enough to be honest?" "I'm sorry," Claire whispered, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know how to tell you the truth. I thought if I could just keep up the act, if I could just keep pretending, maybe it would all work out." Victoria took a deep breath, the weight of the situation settling in. She looked down at the DNA test again, as if seeing it for the first time. It was a symbol of the lies, the deception, and the betrayal that had been hidden for so long. "Why, Claire?" Victoria asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why go to such lengths to deceive me, to deceive everyone?" Claire hesitated, her tears flowing freely now. "I was scared. I thought that if I didn't do it, I'd lose you. And I couldn't bear that. I couldn't stand the thought of being alone again." Victoria's heart broke for the girl she had tried so hard to love. But as much as she wanted to forgive her, as much as she wanted to make everything right, she knew that the damage had already been done. The bond they once shared had been shattered by the truth, and no amount of apology could repair the rift between them. The silence between them was deafening as they both sat there, two people caught in a web of lies and shattered trust. Victoria finally spoke again, her voice tinged with a sadness that seemed to echo through the room. "You've destroyed everything, Claire. Everything I believed in, everything we had. It's all gone. How do we move forward from here?" Claire's sobs intensified, and all she could say was, "I don't know. I don't know how to fix this, Victoria." And in that moment, neither of them did. The damage had been done, and the road to healing seemed impossibly long. But one thing was certain, nothing would ever be the same again. The weight of Claire's confession filled the room, the air thick with the burden of years of lies and deception. As she choked on her tears, her words began to pour out, one painful truth after another, each revelation deeper than the last. The woman who had once been Victoria's beloved daughter, the girl who had manipulated her way into their lives with so much charm and cunning, was now breaking down, unable to hide the truth any longer. The plan, Jordan's deadly scheme. It started with a plan. A plan Claire had been given by Jordan, a man whose shadow had loomed over her life for far too long. She spoke of how, from the very beginning, her mission had been simple yet chilling. She had been tasked with killing Victor Newman and Victoria Newman. At first, she hadn't questioned the orders. She had been just another pawn in a much larger game, following orders without hesitation. But as she spent time with Victor and Victoria, something inside her began to shift. The warmth, the genuine love and care they offered her, it was something she had never known. It was something she had craved for so long. Living with them, experiencing their kindness, Claire began to form an emotional connection she hadn't anticipated. She found herself torn between the life Jordan had promised her and the real, authentic love Victoria and Victor had shown her. Claire wasn't prepared for the battle of loyalties that followed. The longer she stayed with them, the harder it became to go through with the task. In the end, she couldn't do it. She couldn't kill the people who had treated her like their own daughter, who had given her the chance to be part of something real. With every passing day, Claire's feelings for Victoria and Victor grew stronger. They had become family to her in a way that Jordan's cold, calculating plans never could. And so, when the time came to fulfill the mission, Claire made a choice she refused. She turned her back on the life Jordan had envisioned for her, choosing instead to stay with the Newmans, the family she had come to love. The plea, Claire's desperate request. Sitting before Victoria, Claire's voice trembled as she recounted her choices. She looked into Victoria's eyes, pleading with her, desperate for understanding. "I never wanted to hurt you, Victoria. I never wanted to betray you. All I wanted was to feel loved, to be part of something real. And you gave me that. I couldn't go through with it. I couldn't hurt you." Her eyes filled with tears as she lowered her gaze, clearly ashamed of the deception she had carried for so long. "Please, Victoria," she whispered, "please don't tell anyone. Don't expose me. I want to marry Kyle. I want to feel like I belong somewhere, with someone who loves me. Please, don't take that away from me. I just want to live a happy life, like everyone else." Victoria stood in silence, staring at Claire, and able to process everything she had just heard. The woman she had raised, the daughter she had loved as her own, had been a part of a dark plan to destroy her family. The pain of betrayal was overwhelming, but in the back of her mind, she heard Claire's plea, her desire for a chance at a life of love, a life she had always dreamed of but had never known. Claire continued, her voice breaking, "I know I've lied to you. I know I've hurt you. But I need this, Victoria. I need this chance to be happy. I need to feel like I'm not just a tool in someone else's game. I'm asking you, please don't make me suffer anymore." Kyle's reaction, the ultimate betrayal. As Claire sat there, vulnerable and tearful, the storm of emotions raging inside Victoria only intensified. The betrayal Claire had just confessed to was beyond comprehension, but there was still one more thing left for Victoria to foresee: the inevitable confrontation between Claire and Kyle. When Kyle learned the truth, when he discovered that Claire, the woman he was about to marry, had been lying to him all along, the fallout would be catastrophic. Kyle had been blinded by love, swept up in the excitement of their upcoming wedding, imagining a future with the woman he thought was his soulmate. He had no idea that Claire, the woman he trusted with his heart, had been living a lie, manipulating him in the same way she had manipulated everyone else. The revelation would come as a punch to the gut for Kyle. The anger, the feelings of betrayal, would consume him. He would feel the sting of Claire's deception in the worst way possible. How could he ever forgive her for what she had done? How could he ever trust her again after she had concealed such a dark secret from him? The relationship they had built, the foundation of trust and love, would be irrevocably broken. No matter how Claire pleaded, no matter how many apologies she offered, it would never be enough to undo the damage she had caused. Kyle would be forced to face the truth: Claire wasn't the woman he thought she was. She had been lying to him, playing him, just as she had with everyone else. The rage that would boil inside him would be unbearable, and he would struggle to come to terms with how easily he had been deceived. The consequences, the future in limbo. As Claire sat before Victoria, confessing her deepest secrets and begging for forgiveness, she didn't know what the future held. Her lies had caught up with her, and no matter how much she wanted to escape the consequences, she knew that nothing would ever be the same again. She had destroyed the trust of the people who cared for her, and now she would have to face the fallout. Victoria's heart was torn between her maternal instincts and the deep betrayal she had just uncovered. Could she ever forgive Claire? Could she allow Claire to be with Kyle, knowing everything she had done? And what about Kyle? The devastation he would feel would be nothing short of crushing, and Claire's actions would forever haunt him. The world Claire had carefully crafted was falling apart around her, and as she sat there, desperate for a second chance, the reality of her situation set in. No matter how much she cried, no matter how much she begged, the consequences of her actions would be long-lasting and irreversible. The love she had sought would never come as easily as she had hoped, and the pain she had caused would leave scars that would never truly heal. The truth had finally come out, and the road ahead would be a difficult one for everyone involved.